I met, this was part of the indoctrination of the security. I met a grade, and he was a science translator way back in the 50s, and he was the one that provided, for example, his name was J-Rod, right? That's why we translated it to J-Rod. But if you looked at it, it'd be looking like, you know, like you're reading Hungarian, and you would know what, you know, but that's the way it was translated.
Did you occasionally see him throughout the 60s and 70s and 80s too?
I'd say up to the 70s, middle 70s. But he was the one individual, only one. There was others, but he was the one that was associated with that group. That's a long story about being indoctrinated. And I said this once before, you know, they talk about the various different people here in the States, you know. If you're a little guy, you saw a picnic from New Mexico or from Africa or something, or some other places you're not familiar seeing, you know, that type of individual, you'd wonder too, you know, there's a lot of horrible looking people around. But, I mean, it's in your own mind whether the individual's horrible looking or not. They seem to be, I illustrated that, I thought he was a pretty nice guy myself. I mean, he was no different than anybody else, except that, he was different.
Did he speak?
Different features.
Did he speak through his mouth or telepathically to you?
He spoke, I'm going to say this again, he spoke in your voice. Now, whether you're hearing it telepathically or not, but you hear your voice.
Did you see his mouth move?
Oh, they can speak with their mouth, sure. Yeah, I think I saw his mouth move several times. You know, I just, these particular individuals, they're a lot different than us in a lot of respects. Their needs are so different. You know, there's a difference between Chinese and Americans and French and German and whatever. You know, we all have our differences, but that's the kind of thing. But before we go to lunch, I wanted to bring up a couple things. Number one, you know, gasoline prices. Okay, gasoline prices kind of high, right? And it's all more or less what Anthony talked about. I would plan to get you. But I come up with a little formula, okay, and I'm going to tell you why I come up with this formula, because I looked at some chemistry, and there's some people that are trying to formulate new gasoline. I know California's done something. Whether theirs is right or wrong, I don't even know what's in it. But I know there's one item that's in it. It's boron. Now, when I was younger, in my younger days, I used to see on I think it was Sunoco gas station, they had, you know, our gasoline contains boron, right? The reason why I'm saying this is because the ETs, that's one of their trade-offs. We give them boron. There's only a couple places in the whole world that has boron. One is out here in Death Valley, the other one's near Edwards. You might find some in South America, but I doubt it. But those are the only two places you get boron. Boron, Boraxo, you know, call it what you want. You know, now you're brushing your teeth with it, right? I just want to tell you how important this is, okay? And this California stuff, what they're doing in there, and they're screwing the people of California just terribly. And Anthony lives there, and I'm sure he feels he's getting screwed. But what they did out there is essentially wrong. There's a fellow up here in Reno that's come up with a naphtha water, emulsified water, which Caterpillar company is now changing their tractors over to run on naphtha and emulsified water, 50% water, 50% naphtha. Now, and that thing, as far as pollution is concerned, gives you very little pollution. Very little. As a matter of fact, you wouldn't even need your car smog if you're like running propane. But my little formula is this. You can go into a car parts store, pick up the section 104, napkin and that kind of stuff. And you'll notice on the back, there's naphtha and toluene. Okay? Now, you don't have to use a toluene. Some companies use toluene and some other distillates. But my previous formula now, and I'll say this, you'll be satisfied and you'll be happy with it. You take just a regular bottle of dry gas, 8 ounces, okay? And then you go to the paint store and you buy yourself 1 gallon, because that's how you can get it. Maybe you can get it, of course, but I bought a gallon. And you buy 1 gallon of benzene naphtha. Now that's a combination of benzene naphtha and I'm going to tell you what happens with the benzene naphtha and the dry gas to alcohol formula and other distillates. But you take this and you take 8 ounces of benzene naphtha and a bottle of dry gas, which is 18 ounces, that's 16 ounces. You make sure you mix it and don't get any of the benzene or the naphtha on your hands because it'll crack your skin. It's not cancerous. Everything you do is cancerous, but you don't have to worry about it. And it doesn't make a mess either when you're pouring. You just got to be careful that you don't spill it all over. And you take this 16 ounces, put it in your gas tank, 20-gallon gas tank before you fill it up. You'll be surprised what it does. Now, if I had some boron, and I put some of that in it, but I can't tell you where to buy. I don't know whether the gas or the oil companies are getting it from, but I'm going to find out. But if you had a little more boron in there, it sort of strengthens the metrics of the nuclei of all of these components that I just talked about. The other things that are used with boron, they're putting it in vitamins now. They're also taking boron and injecting it in humans to correct cancer. Plus, the guy right in the back that will verify this, and they make airplane parts out of boron. I think one of the first planes they used it on was the F-111 and a few others. But it's made out of boron. And you can make it hard, you can make it soft. There's so many different things you can do with boron. You can drink it. It's explosive. You can inject it into the fuel. It gives you more power as far as planes are concerned. But boron has so many good things about it, and that's why the great one. But maybe it's the only place they can get boron. But that was one of the things that we were trading off was boron.
Bill, may I ask another question here? In addendum to the trade-off with boron, are they not exchanging human bodies, or is there some sort of thing of that nature? Do you know anything of that nature?
I don't know anything of that nature as far as trading human body parts or trading humans.
Talking about the milk carton kids, the massive numbers of children.
I just don't know. I'm like a guy, for example, people live in various different towns, and they live in just a location, for example, Chicago. They live on a couple of different streets. They got their movies there, they buy their groceries there, they work there and everything, and die there, right? Well, I was sort of in that position only with these guys, right? With this group.
How many people live at the facility in your total, in your, what would be your guesstimate as far as numbers?
But the number of people that worked in my group?
No, at the facility, at S4 and Greenland, would it be in the approximately 20,000 or thereabouts?
There might be 20,000 total.
Yes.
Interfacing and so forth and so on, but the actual people out there probably 3,000. See, for example, 3,000, if you look at the planes and so forth, and there's a lot of flights that come right straight from wherever. They don't come land in the Caribbean, just come from, say, California, Southern California. or maybe Los Alamos, or White Sands and that kind of thing. But, I'd say 3,000 out there, maybe a little more, just depends. But if I understand, I saw something on the net regarding an explosion out there, and this thing came on the net, and what Tiger Claw's name was, I guess, that was his computer name, net name. But he said there was 700 Grays killed, and I don't know, 300 Grays killed and 700, humans. But, there was a propane explosion or something, they were doing something, and it blew up a couple levels, and there were apparently rats down there that they had some very serious, types of biological testing that they were doing on. And this guy says, if those rats escape, a million people will die. I like to say this, they say out here that, they moved it. We moved it here, we moved it there. But nobody's that dumb to take it. I don't know how many billion, maybe $1 trillion that's been spent out there, whatever they've got totally in their facility, and move it anywhere else, just to rebuild or build a facility. It's a problem.
Where did you fly these craft here, or where are these craft being flown to? To the moon, to Mars, or other galaxies, the solar systems, or they just fly around the world?
I'd say, okay, there's two different ones. They have a craft that flies just in our space, and they've got crafts that fly out.
Where do they go?
I don't know, but who knows? I don't know.
Who flies them?
I'm saying that now we have trained humans flying.
Yes.
Did you work on two different types of propulsion systems? Or did you know about two different types of propulsion systems? One would be out of our atmosphere, the other would be in our atmosphere.
Well, I already worked on it. What atmosphere are you talking about now?
Well, one would be the Earth's atmosphere, and another would be atmospherical craft, and the other would be a...
This is Earth's atmosphere, Earth's atmosphere. Now, let me say this thing, but the hull that we built was 6 inches thick. It had two different plates, but it had a special, like you put insulation in the house, you got a wall. This had a special type material that they put in there. I didn't even know what that was. But there was a lot of course, cables in there, various different other equipment that was inside. I never saw anything like it. We never had anything that, all of a sudden this section of the ship became visible, clear. We didn't do any of that stuff.
In the Mexico Basin in New Mexico, there's been a long-standing number of alien involvement there, and occupation at deeper levels. Is that true, and have you been in that facility?
I've been in that facility. It's, I know they say White Sands, but it's not on White Sands. There's a tunnel from White Sands to that facility.
Monsanto.
Huh?
Monsanto. And is there also a tunnel from Monsanto to Los Alamos?
I know there's a lot of tunnels up in Los Alamos. I had a couple people, Burgundy Tan and some other wacko from Louisiana. They wanted some information, so they wanted to build a flying disc. And we come up with this monstrous 30 tons of copper to make this capacitor to do to provide us the energy, to operate it. But I had a funny thing happen to me a few months back, well, maybe more than that right now, 3 or 4 months. I had a call from a professor at Stanford, and he knew a lot of information about me. Where he got it, I don't know. he wanted to talk to me and said, hey, I want to talk to you about this problem we're having. And I understand it's okay to talk to you. And could I come down and see it? I said, well, just make sure you let me know. No, I said, I need to know who you are. So, anyhow, he sprung this on me. It's like anybody else, you know. They call me up and they say, hey, I'm here and I'll meet you at a certain place, but I've only got 3 hours in town. Can you come? Well, I was interested in the guy because he sounded like a Hungarian, right? I mean, you know how these professors talk, right? I mean, I don't know if he's trained. He sounded like one of those mudlarks, right? I didn't tell him roll fuss and shake it there or anything else, but I didn't know what that meant myself, right? But what his problem was, and apparently at Stanford they've got one, a test cell, they've got one that's actually being built in a miniature configuration. And they were having problems with turning it, making it go left and right, and calibrating it. So he knew that much that I worked on avionics, and what do we do, how do we get it to turn? And I said, oh, why don't you talk to this guy in San Diego? He also worked on it, right? Besides these instrumentation controls, I'm just mechanical. He said, no, I was told to talk to you. So, see, there's a method in the calibration. Anybody that knows calibration, you got to do, there's certain steps you got to follow, particularly with a plane. Where's that guy at? There he is back there. You get up at the end of the array, and what are you doing? You're calibrating your stuff, right? Revving it up and calibrating it, right? Well, what they do is, I don't know, but apparently this Hungarian went away happy. He wasn't Hungarian, though. I knew that. I've asked that.
What about when you set up your own gravitational field? Don't you also then create a reference point for it's almost like an artificially constructed space-time continuum? And what effect does that have?
What do you mean, like date, time, and that kind of thing?
No, not just daytime, but aren't you creating...
Reference point, you mean like interdimensional or something? I don't know.
Temporal.
Oh, I just don't.
Isn't there time?
Yeah, I got a hard time with that. With that part of the operation.
What?
Well, number one, I wasn't involved in any of that, that part of it. But, and then number two, I kind of had the feeling that once you get this, I'll go back. It's like a planet, right? The only thing about Earth, it circles the sun once a year, goes a certain speed, okay? But this thing, you can take it out of orbit. You can take it out of orbit with the gravitational process that, it has. And you can set it to just go anywhere you want. Now, whether it is, and there probably is a time distortion of some kind that happens, but I'm not aware of just how that functions. Maybe you have to be, I wasn't a physicist, I was just a design mechanical engineer on, BS in mechanical engineering. That's it. Oh, there's a guy raising his hand.
You said before that you were going to tell us some new stuff today about what's going on now, Area 51, or new stuff, something like that.
What's going on? I gave you some information about that, and how the organization is set up, and who's out there. Told you what's going on out there.
I'm just wondering, you said you were going to tell us some new things today. I'm wondering if you covered it already, or...
Yeah, I think I covered it in the atmosphere inside of it, and that kind of thing. I gave you